Aristotle once said, criticism is something we can easily avoid by saying nothing, doing nothing, and being nothing. In a social context, I completely agree with him. Unfortunately, I have to disagree with him in a professional context. Because one thing is certain in a job life no matter what you do, you will be criticized. A lot. And why? Well, because you're getting paid for your job and people expect success from their investments. You will be criticized for your code quality, for your teamwork, for your management skills, for your performance in general. But you will also receive subtle criticism for your communication if you don't communicate clearly enough, for your work ethic if you don't work overtime or show enough effort, and for your sense of responsibility when you blame others instead of solving things. There are different forms of criticism, but they all have one thing in common, a common problem: emotionality. When you experience criticism, emotions automatically come into play. This is completely normal. However, you can learn how to deal with it better. To help you understand this more easily, here is some information about typical emotions in the face of criticism. Essentially, we're dealing with three typical emotions. The first one is an offended ego. You then quickly tend to stop being objective and defend yourself instead. Criticism is perceived as embarrassing, especially in front of other people, and you quickly become defensive. The second one is a perceived threat. Criticism makes you believe that you are being questioned. This undermines your own status. The emotional reaction to this is often fight or flight. The third one is fear of failure. It is not uncommon to focus on the negative and develop self-doubt after criticism. All of this naturally increases the fear of failure. It often helps if you can categorize feelings better, and as I said, such feelings are completely normal. Now let's take a look at the three types of criticism there are. This kind of criticism is entirely justified, and to put it simply, it's true. See, I know a basketball player who missed more than 9,000 shots, lost almost 300 games, and when given the trust, missed 26 game-winning shots. Those are really some poor statistics, right? I believe his name was Michael Jordan. See, everyone makes mistakes or has room for improvement. I know even constructive criticism is hard to take because you put so much effort in and it feels like failing. But be smart. Don't take it personally. Try to overcome emotions because that kind of criticism is a helper. Actually, it's a free advice. You can take it as a shortcut. Or let's even call it nonsense. Stuff that won't improve anything. Actually, a lot of people really mean well with their comments, but that doesn't mean they're doing you any good. Just because someone is not good at something doesn't mean they can't add their 2 cents, right? And then there are people who criticize just for the sake of criticizing. There are people who simply don't see any opportunities. They will always look for the fly in the ointment. Rest assured, there are many people like that. Work in Germany for a while, and you know what I'm talking about. Then there are people who simply always have something to say, whether it is beneficial or not. They feel important when they contribute something. Listen to it, take a note, don't argue, and do your thing. Hurtful criticism is feedback that goes beyond constructive commentary and instead aims to inflict emotional pain and distress. It often lacks empathy and can be unnecessarily harsh, attacking personal qualities rather than focusing on the specific behavior or issue at hand. And where people interact with each other, there will always be human problems such as hurtful criticism. You see, as a professional, you're going to need a thick skin. Otherwise, it might get tough. The idea that everyone is nice to each other and that you only communicate with each other using something polite like the sandwich method is just an illusion in a stressful environment. Take other areas, for example. I would say of myself that I have a thick skin when it comes to criticism, because I've acquired that over the years. I grew up as a football player and sometimes played in front of hundreds of spectators. Of course, sometimes you play badly, and the crowd lets you know that. It's always really embarrassing when you're shouted at and substituted by the coach in front of everybody. But it's not the end of the world, and you shouldn't take it personally. Grit your teeth and get over it. When there are expectations and pressure, there are always emotions. What I can also recommend is training. Try working in a kitchen of a restaurant. I did. Heavy work, stress, time pressure, no room for mistakes, cramped conditions, heat, hierarchy, little motivation, no praise at all, and people yelling at you constantly. Sounds beautiful, huh? No, it's horrible. But still, people excel there because they do not take things personally. If you encounter rough conditions and criticism for the first time in your life on the job, you might face a bigger challenge than others. Nevertheless, you can prepare yourself. Here's my 5-step guide on how to deal with criticism at work. Step 1, mental preparation. Prepare mentally for criticism before you publish something. I know you are proud of your work and you want to show it off to your colleagues, but assume that there will also be criticism. And when you're proud and happy, it's extra confusing and unexpected when someone criticizes you. So it depends on your state of mind. Before meetings, emails, phone calls, etc., prepare yourself for the fact that there may be criticism. Being prepared for this takes the tension out. Step 2, no immediate reaction. Criticism always makes you feel attacked or hurt. Therefore, take your time. Don't say anything. Listen carefully and just let it happen. Speak when you are angry, and you will make the best speech you will ever regret. Step 3, clarification. Ask questions to clarify if you understood correctly, if you are on the same page. Please do not defend yourself here. Just ask for clarification. Ask them for their solution and what they suggest instead. Step 4, show gratitude. Always be grateful for feedback because people will stop giving you feedback and helping you if the feedback process is uncomfortable for them because you are defending yourself instead of recognizing their efforts. Remember, we're trying to win here. And at this stage, you may still be very hot headed and not have an overview of the actual benefits of the feedback. Step 5, filter out the good stuff. Once the initial emotions have gone, take the time to study the feedback and categorize it. Remember the 3 types of criticism we discussed at the beginning? Bad quality and insulting criticism is a waste of energy because you can't gain benefit from it. So why bother with it at all? Perhaps a little change of perspective will help. People who give you bad quality feedback certainly mean well, but maybe they just can't do any better. Maybe it's just their opinion and they're entitled to that. If it doesn't help you, you don't need to pay attention to it. And as for hurtful feedback, I like to quote Robert De Niro in one of his roles. Can't do it, but I try. Well, some people will never like me, and I will never give up.
Pizza.
See? What you think of me is none of my business. It just doesn't make sense to get upset about it. For example, if someone tells the truth and you get upset about it, the question arises as to why you get upset about the truth. Okay, if someone says nonsense, the question is why you get upset about nonsense. It's also useless, huh? I repeat, nonsense and insulting criticism are absolute waste of energy. Don't bother with it at all. Instead, you should focus all your attention on constructive criticism because that is the profit zone. Think of it as a free help, as early detection of mistakes, as a shortcut. This is where you can really benefit, so swallow your pride and get in touch with the originators of the feedback to make use of their knowledge. Today we have learned that criticism can never be received neutrally. It is an emotional matter, and that is okay. However, you can gain an advantage over the uninformed by keeping your emotions in check, remaining silent, and then keeping a cool head to get great value from the feedback. Constructive criticism is a free shortcut. We have also learned that any attempt to justify bad criticism or combat hurtful criticism is a total waste of energy. In all emotionally charged situations, be aware that it's all in your head. It's a question of perspective. If you're cut off by a car at a junction, you will be very angry, of course. But if you know the vehicle is carrying a pregnant woman on her way to the hospital or a gang member with a gun, you will be glad you gave up your right of way and not be angry at all. Although it's exact the same situation, differing only by a small piece of information and perspective. You're intelligent, so try to be smart too. See you next time.